How's it going, everyone, and welcome to the Body Slam TNA review. As always, I'm joined by the great Io. How you doing, man?
Doing good, having quite the good Friday night stuff. Been quite around, been quite busy, so to speak. But you know, can't take away the excitement I have, of watching the TNA Impact show. How about you, man?
Yeah, last night was, I think, a really solid show. Especially, we're coming off what I think was a show that delivered more than people expect. So, yeah, last night I thought was a pretty good follow up to that.
Yeah, it shows that we're definitely building toward Bound for Glory. Man, I know we have Victory Road coming up too, but like you can really see like the Bound for Glory builds kind of started. Like I mentioned that too,
Yes,
like after emergence.
this is again. So yeah, people like Bound for Glory is obviously what is kind of TNA's. It's basically TNA's mania. So obviously it started emergence, but yeah, we're truly on like the Victory Road towards Bound for Glory. We got one more show, obviously Victory Road, but yeah, I think everything's leading towards Bound for Glory.
All right.
But
Do you wanna talk about some NXT recap a bit? So,
yeah, before let me just real quick before we get into that, I just want to remind everyone this week's podcast is sponsored by Shroom Bar, the protein mushroom bar. It's made up of not psychedelics but 4 powerful mushroom adaptogens. It has lion's mane, which increases focus, memory, and neuroplasticity, making it easier to form new patterns and learn new things. Next time you're trying to learn that new move, it might actually stick rather than forgetting it immediately. It has quadriceps, which increases VO2 max, blood flow, and overall endurance. It has reishi, which decreases stress. It has turkey tail, which boosts your immune system. We all know you're going to need that when you're on those nasty-ass gym mats. On top of all that, it has 12 grams of protein. Go to eatshroombar.com and use code BODYSLAM at checkout for 25% off your first order. Okay, yeah, it's kind of a. I'm glad you brought that up because I think we talked about it during the week. It's a little sore spot for me. What jokingly, what went down on NXT. But yeah, why don't you talk about it?
all right. So we had we'll start with the anticipated trio match between Fatal Influence and the Elegance brand. First up, I just want to congratulate the Elephants. I'm sorry, I said Elephants brand. Damn you, sense, the Elegance brand. Because, especially for them getting this opportunity. We know, Ash, was previously there, formerly Dana Brooke. But this was the first for Heather and M, formerly Maggie. Um, I know, they've kind of I know they just kind of recently signed with TNA, but it's surreal to them. I know that wow, you're on NXT already, like representing TNA. So I just want to shout out to them, for the opportunity. But it was a good match. Honestly, it was a good decent match. Like everyone stood out. Yeah, again, Heather and them really showcased their chemistry. I really like their work. Ash, being the leader, being the leader of the group, kind of she is, and of course, Masha Slamovich was the guest referee. So you can tell, all the teammates, if you paid attention to Twitter, they were all kind of like, "Why is she in this match?" Yada 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 and stuff. But yeah, pretty good. I'll say it's a good one to check out. Yeah, all 6 women, they showed out. Um, what happened? Yeah, during a lot of melee, happened around the ring, and then that got Masha distracted while Ash hit the rarefied air. Took a while to get Masha's attention, but then later JC got the tag. She hit her finisher on Ash, 1, 2, 3. So yeah, Fatal Influence got the win, momentum headed into Sunday's Heat Wave. Before I continue, what was your thoughts on the match too? And because I know you mentioned this week, like in your opinion, like this is today's version of Late Cool versus Beautiful. They're beautiful people. Is that correct?
Yeah, I definitely think that these two factions kind of embody definitely.
All
You
right.
know what?
Well, you want to say?
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, I know. I did like this, and it kind of makes me. I'm just kind of focused on that finish because now I'm kind of fast forwarding to Heat Wave. In your opinion, do you see a title change? Do you see the belt coming back home?
I've been thinking about this quite a lot actually. Like, um, I'll just say it can honestly, Bert, it can really go either way, and I'll say why. Like, because it could go either way. I mean, well, just like this is WWE's territory, and JC, well, I mean, Fallon and Jasmine won't be too far behind, to do what they can to help, their teammate retain and stuff. You have Masha, the former champion. Um, no diss on the other two. Like Masha's the better performer out of the three, so it wouldn't be surprised if she ends up like getting the title back. But then you have the wild card in Ash, who honestly, she feels like she has a lot more to prove, and I agree, and I will say the same. Like she's kind of like the dark horse out of this because like some people and so some people still kind of overlook her, and what a way to kind of like shock the world and also silence the critics and haters and whatnot. Like beating two of the top right now in JC and Masha. So and of course I did like the promo battle between the three on Impact as we'll get into later. Yeah, they really kind of set the stance for Sunday. So yeah, to answer, it could go either way. Honestly, I'll just say that.
I think that because I'm not one of those ones who think it's like been like I'm not desperate to get the titles back in the sense that I don't think it's been long enough to where I'm worried. If I'm correct, isn't Heat Wave going to be at the same arena that BFG is going to be at?
No, not the same arena. That's what some folks got confused on. No, it's a different venue.
Okay, yeah, I thought they were good. They're okay. Well, anyway, I just would hold off on maybe Crown. If they're going to go with Masha, then obviously you could have JC Pin Ash. And in that case, I think that it would be smart just because I don't think they should take the title off JC until BFG. I think that just because the potential biggest crowd of the year for TNA, I think that's just when you're going to get the biggest pop for that. Give it the biggest moment. I wouldn't do a title change just yet.
I was thinking that too, but then I realized, all right, we're just gonna be honest here. Like Trick Williams, yeah, he's not dropping that belt to likely Bound for Glory, but at the same time, should the same stand for like the Knockouts title? Like because I'm sure like knowing TNA, I think they will want the focus on the world title, like basically like one NXT person holding the title, like center focus on that, if you know what I mean. So I was saying to the chat, like I wouldn't be surprised if JC loses the title before then. So
yeah, because I could see that too, just because kind of having both TNA belts being over there, they're kind of taking focus away from each other. Yeah, the likely scenario JC losing would be I could see that more of a chance happening than her not winning. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
All right, and later on that evening, back to NXT. Speaking of our world champion Trick, he won one-on-one with Javon Evans. That was a great match. I would recommend, especially I'm sure you saw that crazy spot where Javon flew through the table. There are some pictures, bro. There are some pictures there that I said you could put an album on this. Like Javon, was literally flying in the air. Like it's the same like when it's like one of those shots where you just got to put an album on it or whatnot. Like the same with Leon Slater when he did that dive during Ultimate X. So yeah, it was a good match to check out. At the end, when Trick was about to finish, Javon, he got distracted and looked into the crowd for 1 minute. And who was up there? None other than Mike Santana. He distracted Trick, and Javon Evans was able to capitalize, and Javon Evans, beat Trick and he's going to face Obafemi this Sunday too for the NC title. So yeah, I mean, I'll get your thoughts too. Yeah, so it seems like yeah, Mike Santana. Yeah, we know his intentions, but yeah, he wasn't gonna wait to get into Trick's head. And I said this too, like turnabout is fair play. Like Trick cost Santana his match in front of his hometown New York. Santana returned the favor because Trick is from Philadelphia. Well, I mean, he grew up in Philadelphia, would play for the Eagles. So yeah, he lost in his home too. So turnabout's fair play. What do you think?
First off, that video of Trick like kind of like roasting fans on the street was hilarious. I think you were the one that shared it in the group. That was money. Going back to that Javon spot, that's if this was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that's the kind of picture that would be all over the magazines, it'd be all over the newspapers. You know what I mean? Like that was pretty remarkable. You know, kudos to whoever captured that image. Like that was a perfect still shot of just he was like so high in the air. That was insane. Yeah, I like you got to keep and we're gonna get into it at the beginning. If they're not having a title shot anytime soon, they got to keep the heat. And you know, Santana costing Trick the match is obviously the easiest way to do that. So this was I like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to hit before we get into the show?
I think that's about it. I think that's
Okay. We're gonna open up the show where TNA 8/21/25. Obviously yesterday. We're from Baltimore again. I believe it was the Chesapeake Arena. Trick comes out, and I like this because he had that quote where he answers why he's holding the belt upside down, and he basically says because he turned TNA upside down. And again, I thought that would be a quote that would be obviously be the first thing you see in an article about Trick. Like that was a money line. But I thought this segment was really good. What'd you think about the opening?
Yeah, it was a good opening. Crowd, still over Trick, even though he insulted them, still saying like the Philadelphia Eagles, are still the better Birds team than the Ravens. I kind of cracked up to that. Yeah, so it's, Trick, doing the same skits. Run down, about like how he beat Moose and whatnot. So yeah, it was good. It was good opening promo. And then Mike Santana came out, to get his thoughts too. Like about they said that it don't matter if it's NXT or it's TNA, like as long as God and the crowd is all his witness, he is gonna you know spin the block, get Trick, and become TNA champion. And then Trick, being the champion, he declined Santana's request, and then comes Santino. Do you want me to continue, or you got it from there?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, keep going. You can keep going.
All right. And then Santino, came out. He told Trick and Santana that was gonna make this official. And before Santino got right into that, Trick cut him off, saying that he needs to check with his lawyers, or check with his Trick's lawyer, because apparently, and I laughed too at this. Apparently, there's a contract rule saying that Trick can't defend the title within the next 50 days. I mean, normally it's 30 days, but I don't know how the heck he got 50 days. So no title match made official, and then Santana,
You there? I have a little technical difficulties, people. Work with us. Just waiting for Io to come back. All right, well, I'll continue. Yeah, no, I thought this was good. I thought both guys did what they were supposed to do. Going back to Io's point, yeah, it's usually 30 days. Trick, obviously, being the champ, being the top guy, I'm assuming can afford some pretty expensive legal representation. So I could see how somebody of his caliber could work this out. Good on him. But yeah, I thought this was a money segment all around. Good on both guys to kind of really, really stoke the fuel of that fire even more. Okay, next we're going to move on to what I thought was a pretty solid interview. It was just Gia with the whole Order 4. And let me just say, since the addition, and addition should be in all caps, of Agent Zero, I thought this group has kind of become, they're very imposing, obviously. But anyway, so Ali kind of starts, and I think he is very good in his role, and I think it goes back to the politics. I think he's very good at picking the right things and kind of pulling the right strings when he speaks. And he asked Gia, well, how do you feel? Would you like being disrespected? And I think that was very telling. And obviously it's very coincidence because obviously you saw what happened with Gia and Tessa recently. But then he just kind of goes in and talking about how he doesn't trust the system, and the only person the people should trust and he trusts and the group trusts is in Ali. And yeah, no, I thought, again, this was very, very good. Ali is killing it in this role. Yeah, I thought this was solid. Okay, next we're gonna go in with Santino with Trick and AJ Francis. And Tino says next week it's going to be a partner of Santana's choosing and versus a partner of AJ and his choosing. And so I think that should be really good. Again, both these guys, speaking of AJ and Santana, have been killing it lately. And so this should be good. I'm kind of anticipating who their partners are going to be. Okay, next we're going to go into the Knockouts number 1 contender gauntlet match, and this is good shit. We open up with Xia Brookside versus Killer Kelly, and this match got off a little slow. I thought this was probably the weaker of all the matches within the matches of this little gauntlet match. Xia was able to win after she hit the Brooksy bomb. Very dope finisher. But next out we get Danny. And let me just say, Danny needs to, I'm going to continue to reiterate, Danny's a powerhouse and needs to continue to be built like that, built as so.
Yeah.
Oh, I was back. Okay, what?
Oh, sorry, brother. Yeah. I was listening to you. Yeah, Danny is very good.
It's funny that and we'll get to it, but I like how you pointed out, because I had said they needed to put the title out immediately, and I was watching behind, but you had pointed out that Jake something basically tweeted out that exact same thing. I thought that was very funny. I think she's definitely starting to get some real steam behind her, and people kind of wanting to see her like kind of ascend to that next level. What'd you think about the first part with Xia and Kelly?
Yeah, some would say kind of an upset, but yeah, Xia, she's been kind of on a roll, we're doing the tagging with Lei and Ling and stuff. Yeah, this was a good opener to the gauntlet. As you see, Brookside wasn't going to be intimidated with Kelly and stuff. So yeah, this is a good first round in the gauntlet.
Yeah, and I think that I'm not too sure, but I believe that Kelly contract's not I don't know how. I think the length is a lot shorter than what Zaya is there for currently. You know, I think they have big plans for Zaya. So Kelly losing, I think it does make a little sense, even though she's kind of has a little more credentials than Zaya at this point. But yeah, no, I think they have big things planned for Zaya. So yeah, like I said, it's Danny and Zaya, and Danny was just kind of in control earlier, and I thought she really. It was a back and forth match, but I think she really dominated this match, and I think it was smart to have her go on, especially once we get into the rest of the match. What happens? You know what I mean? I think it makes sense. But after that, we get Rosemary, and I thought this was probably one of the better of the matches in this gauntlet. What'd you think about this?
Yeah. You mentioned Brookside versus Luna, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This was a interesting style match. Because Rosemary, uh, you know, I mean both are being completely different. Rosemary, Danny. One would wonder like if Danny was going to be able to capitalize after just going through Brookside, but yeah, she was able to kind of you know go through Rosemary, a former knockout. Actually, the only former knockouts champion in this gauntlet match. So, yeah. What I like about this show and especially this match, like, yeah, it's kind of heavy knockouts based, and it's able to kind of like, yeah, showcase Danny's skills.
I think I feel like as of late, like the last few years, gauntlet matches is across the board in companies have really delivered. I like this style of match just because you have the element of somebody running the gauntlet, basically getting fatigued after a while. It's just natural, but you would always think the person that comes in last has a chance to steal it, and that's not always the case. But there's a lot of drama in these type of matches. So Danny is able to get the win over Rosemary, and that's what comes out. We get Indy, and this is when the whole time I was a little nervous because, again, I didn't know how many people were left in the gauntlet. I didn't catch that part. And two, while I do think that Indy could have the potential to be something, and I do think that TNA has plans with her, I was nervous because I don't think she's ready to even be in a world title match. But, thankfully Indy was able to win with the roll. What did you think about how this all went down, Io?
Yeah. Going in, it felt like Indy, he is kind of the favorite into his gauntlets, like you said and stuff. So I wasn't surprised that she was gonna eliminate Luna. Like going in, you kind of wonder how many women were in this gauntlet match. So yeah, decent showing between the two recent tag partners. So Indy advance over there, and then you want to talk about what happened next after?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the whole thing at time I was thinking, I was like, what if they did have Indy win, and she's the one that eventually gets that title shot at BFG. The whole time I was thinking about it, I was like, let's say they had Indy win. It would remind me a little bit of, even though she's technically signed with this company, I think you might get the same pushback as to when Christian was the one to win the AEW belt back, because even though he was a former TNA guy, and this time it would be Indy as a current member of the roster, I don't think that'd be a satisfying conclusion for a lot of the hardcore TNA fans if Indy was the one that brought the title back. That's just me. But again, this is just me, and again, then that was just me being paranoid booking, but that's the whole time I was thinking about that.
Yeah. You mentioned the clothesline, right?
Which part? For which part?
From Danny.
Oh no, I have not. I've not got back to that. So yeah, Indy does win with the roll up. Danny tries to essentially help her up. You know what I mean? Indy tries to essentially help her up. Babyface, and Danny snaps. And I thought this was the segment of the night because not only does she take Indy out, but like eventually, because we see Joe. It's Jody Threat next, and she ends up taking Jody out as well as a few of the security guards. I thought that they made Danny look like a killer, and it's funny that I can't believe that they gave Jody Threat the match just by DQ rules, but I thought this was a tremendous segment.
Yeah, this was quite surprised. This was quite surprising. Especially the finish. Danny. We didn't really kind of like get a whole explanation from her, backstage. But yeah, this kind of like shows that she kind of had a little frustration in her, especially being eliminated. And then Jody coming after, to console her, like, what's going on, what are you doing, like, you almost forgot, like, like Indy has to face Jody next. And then like, as soon as like at that point I figured, yeah, Jody might kind of win because like Indy's too beat up and stuff. And then like Danny came out with a steel chair, and then Jody tried to like calm her down too. So apparently, like originally Danny said, like, I did this for you, have at it. Basically, kind of like offering her like on a silver platter. And then like once after Danny came back with the steel chair, well, she put the steel chair and then she hit Jody, and then attacked Indy with the steel chair and stuff. So based on that, yeah, Jody kind of wins by disqualification.
So we immediately go from that into the back, and Jody's telling Santino that she doesn't want to win like that. She doesn't deserve the match, and that's not how she envisioned it going down. And then here comes Danny, and originally Danny says that she did it for Jody, but then Jody says, "But you had to hit me," and Danny says that she is sick of tired of not getting what she wants. And again, I allude to, I think this is like a perfect beginning of them really doing something with Danny. I think she came off as a star in this whole segment. So after that, we're going to move into, which it makes me laugh, just a quick segment. We're back to the kind of the running joke / segment of Ryan Nemeth simply coming out to announce that his big brother, and he really emphasized both of those words. It's very funny. That we'll be back in 2 weeks. And again, I think they know how to use Ryan. I think he was wrestling a little too much in AEW, even though it was on Dark and Elevation. This is a perfect role for him. Let's keep him small doses, and when he's in the matches, we're going to have Nick carry the load. Okay. Next, we're going to go into a Frankie Kazarian versus Jake Something match. And I thought this was the perfect old school veteran versus, the younger guy. Jake Something is a little older, but, he's not as old as Kazarian. Been in the business as long as Kazarian. But no, I thought this was a very good, solid match. Jake, it's interesting. This match with welcome back, Kyle.
All right, thanks. All right, what I miss?
No. Let's just go back real quick. What did you think about the whole Danny Luna and Jody Threat promo? I thought this was a great kind of exchange, kind of showing you where these two are going forward. But what did you think about this?
I think both women kind of
honestly like kind of needed like an edge. Like I figure like yeah, one of them was gonna turn heel. That being that being Danny. Yeah, I'm very interested to see where this goes. Uh, seems like Jody's kind of still caught in the middle, doesn't know what to can how to react. Like technically she's like the number one contender, but apparently she doesn't want it like that way. Of course, because she's a baby face and stuff. So Indy Hartwell can't be too happy because I think
Yeah.
we're gonna she's gonna probably do some do something about being potentially robbed again of another title shot and stuff. So I'm very interested to see where it goes from her.
I could see a situation where we get maybe a triple threat with that number one contender on the line, maybe Victory Road. Or I could see also them just doing Indy versus Jody. Winner faces Dan, gets Danny, and then that, or something just along the lines of that. Just because I don't think that they're done with these three, because we didn't even really hear from Indy in that segment. So yeah, I'm very interested to see where this goes.
Yeah,
And
there's
then
a lot of confusion.
Oh no, yeah. Because I don't think that, like you said, she's a baby face. I don't see her just taking the number one contendership outright. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like the only other thing you missed, Ryan, was Ryan Nemeth, his usual segment, just kind of the countdown clock to when his brother comes back. I thought this was fun. You know what I mean? Okay, so yeah, next we just moved into the Frankie Kazarian Jake Something match, and I was just saying I thought this was good old school, veteran versus the young guy. I kind of thought I liked the finish here, where again it almost kind of we had almost saw Jake Something beat Steve Macklin with the move in the corner in the turnbuckle. In this match, Kazarian cleverly rips off the middle turnbuckle behind the ref's back. He gets Jake Something to run into it. He hits the fade to black, I believe is the name of the move. Gets the win. Again, I don't think we're done with this feud, but I thought this was a good shit too.
Yeah, seems like this match has implications for the international title. And Frankie,
Yeah.
say what you want about him, like as far as his big mouth or on the mic, he's still a veteran and he's a very crafty one and know how to take advantage of the hand, of go against a big guy like Jake Something and yeah. He used the turnbuckle pad, capitalized with the fade to black finisher and got the win. So yeah, this was it kind of set Jake Something aback, unfortunately, because he just came off, a incredible great match with Macklin last Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And then, to come off short against Frankie. So seems like this might has implications for the international title. Because Frankie and Macklin got face to face during emergence.
Yeah. I think that this is definitely in the whatever happens with this is going to have implications for the international title. Okay, next we're going to just go into just a quick statement that kind of paid off later. It was the Hardys. Just they run into Mara Shade, and I think she said that she was painting a picture of the Hardys. She kind of said that they were kind of inspiration to them. You know what I mean? And I thought this was fun. This is fine.
Yeah. I'm an artist too. So I was kind of amazed. Like I heard like Mara, she does some artwork. Like I've seen some of her work. She's pretty good at too. So it was almost kind of fitting. Like she would kind of be doing a similar segment with the Hardys, and of course Jeff being the artist he is. Uh, yeah, good. It's nice. Because standing. She's already standing side by side with Matt and Jeff.
Yeah, that has to be cool for any wrestler. That's probably younger than that. Obviously, grew up watching the Hardys. So yeah, that was cool. Okay, next we just get a quick segment with Santino's on the phone with someone, and Steve Macklin just comes up very short, very sweet. Just says, "Hey, since I'm the guy holding the line for TNA, he wants to be Santana's partner." And I thought this was very good. I kind of pointed to it in our group chat. I like how they're keeping Steve Macklin's name like involved with this like the world title picture, just because even though he's not the world champion, he is like kind of being called the flag bearer of TNA right now, holding down the fort. So I like this.
Oh, you talk about the EY Myron Reese segment?
No, the Steve Macklin segment where he just basically said that he wants to be Santana's partner.
Yeah, this was perfect. Because Macklin, he wants to be the front line, as he in the foxhole, the front line, as he say, of invaders coming in. So it makes sense, and of course, him and Santana have history. Macklin being Santana's opponent when he came back. So there's kind of we knew there's kind of still mutual respect there, and next week's match should be interesting.
Okay, next we kind of get, like, I would say a main event segment, just in terms of this kind of hyping up the knockout segment, knockouts event for Heatwave. It is JC Jane. She comes out first, and she just kind of talks about, she's alluding to all her success, kind of like pointing out how, not like she was really doubted, but she's carrying both brands as well. And I thought she really stood out among the three. But what do you think about her part first before we go into the rest of the girls?
Yeah, well, I gotta give props to JC for handling down the what chance, because you know how crowds be sometimes with the what chance, so
Yeah,
she was able to kind of like shut that distraction down. But yeah, she good promo from JC, kind of basically saying like TNA had to like bring in two opponents for her just to get the title off of her. Had to like have her defend week after week, being desperate and stuff, which is, and in some ways kind of is they won't, like, we want our belts back, so yeah, we're gonna go through as much advantage as possible. So glad she pointed that out too and stuff. Yeah, same old running down the roster, calling herself like the hottest woman wrestler today, blah blah blah, and all that stuff. So, yeah, she kind of basically got to the saying the stuff basically to how we feel right now, like an outsider having our belt.
So next we get Ash, and I don't know whether I hated this or I don't. At first the beginning was fine.
This one got a lot of people rowdied up. Yeah, I'll let you finish.
She just comes out, and again, I like her mentioning why aren't we talking about her? Like, why haven't we talking about what she's done? And I thought her delivery was great. I thought Ash is fucking killing it. The only thing I didn't really like is her mentioning that she's a 15-time WWE champion. She didn't say 24/7 champion, but we know that is what she's talking about. And that just kind of made me think, is that like a great heel line, or is that kind of like, oh, I don't know I wouldn't be bragging about that, but that's my only complaint.
It was intentional, like, so, like, yeah, I mean, of course, yes, obviously it's a 24/7 title, but like she mentioned, like, saying like 15-time WWE champion, so like in a way to kind of like piss off the the critics or whatever and whatnot, so yeah, she was doing her part, because I'm pretty sure, like, I'm pretty sure Ash is the only one who kind of values that championship, so to speak, like, so of course she would kind of mention it, and then she mentioned her other accolades and stuff, and then kind of running down Masha Slamovich, we're calling her Slam a bitch and whatnot. So this was a good promo from Ash, kind of like letting the world know like she still shouldn't be overlooked, like that she should be taken serious, and the attention should be on her instead of JC and Masha. Yeah, this was a good promo from Ash too.
Yeah. Finally, we get Masha, and I thought she was the weaker of the three, and I hate saying that. And I think in like a bigger picture, it kind of makes me think that I think Masha was at her best when she was coming out, giving the the deaths, whatever it was, like who she's basically gonna kill with the picture of them with the X through it. This I think a lot of people liked how she called. I believe she called Ash Timu, Britney Spears,
Timu Barbie, and a Timu Katy Perry. I kind of left to.
It's funny, but I just feel like I don't think Masha would say those lines. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it felt not forced, but like very unnatural. So I thought out of the three, Masha's was the weaker of the promo, but I thought she finished strong, and just basically telling her she's gonna get the title back. But again, yeah, I'm very excited for this triple threat.
Yeah, I think both brands did a good job building up this match for Sunday.
Definitely. Okay, next we're going to move into just the follow-up to this segment. We have Tasha, Josh, and Skylar kind of making fun of Mara's art. And
Mara Sade.
obviously, yeah, Mara Sade's art. And then obviously the Hardys and Mara come back. And one, I'm just very excited because I think we'll get a mixed trios match. But I do like that as the number one group, obviously, who are the heels, Order 4 is not making any friends. You know what I mean? They're out there pissing everybody off. You know what I mean? So I'm very intrigued by this whole segment. And Tasha's killing it. So.
Yeah, this was a good showcase segment for Mara. I mean, I know like the Hardys are there and stuff like, yeah, I'm glad Mara kind of like stood her ground, like let educate Tasha, like on art and stuff. And of course, I know Jeff, like he wasn't gonna like let that disrespect handle because some
No.
like the thing about artists, we really like we paint what's on our mind and how we feel and whatnot, and then like we don't take disrespect kindly to our. I mean, critics like opinions is one thing, but like kind of like this in artworks, like that's just kind of like going a little too far. So yeah, that's my own artist mentality too.
And I believe like Jeff, I think alluded to something like that as well, like you had said. So yeah, again, I'm very intrigued by this whole segment. Okay, finally, we're going to move into our main event, and I thought this was really, really good.
Yeah.
Again, across all companies, I think and I don't know why people call it lazy. I love the All-Star tag. I love the multi-man match to end the show. You know what I mean? This is something you saw all the time back in the day. Why not get as many stars on TV as you can? And I thought so. And so we had the system. And I wrote Moose, Eddie, and Brian, but it was Moose, Cardona, and I believe and Myers, right?
Yeah, Myers, Moose, and Cardona.
Oh, this was a really good match. I thought everybody shined. Again, Moose maybe coming off a couple big losses like the last few months, X Division title, and then losing the world title shot. But they still make him look like, again, like you alluded to, he's never having a bad match out there, and he looked great. You know what I mean? I think he might be still working a little hurt, but he looked good. Everyone looked good. This match did break down at one point. Order 4 was able to win, but I thought the stuff that happened after the match was the most telling. But what'd you think about all this?
Yeah, this was a good. Honestly, like I would say, let me just say that anytime the system or in a trios match, like it's always fun to watch. Like everyone just kind of like puts their best foot forward, shows out. The crowd, what surprised me was I mean it's Baltimore, of course. The crowd was firmly behind Moose, like wanting him to get the tag, and when he got the tag, like it's kind of which is kind of strange because the dude's been a heel for so many years and now he's a babyface. So good sequence from everyone. Good sequence from everyone. A lot of breaks, pinfall breaks, reversals and whatnot. But Moose, being the big man, he was able to kind of get his shine in. Then of course, Order 4, they're the thing about Mustafa, he's gonna use all his resources, and of course, that being the Grey Hands, Tasha, and then the Secret Service. So that's what happened. Uh, Tasha got involved. Then she later attacked Alicia. Then Eddie Edwards tried to come out, and then Agent Zero, stopped him with the big boots. And then Ollie, low blow Myers with the, and then the Grey Hands, took advantage of that, and then they got the fall. So yeah, it was yeah, I would say yeah, this is a good way to kind of like show that Order 4, like they're basically like the as Mustafa mentioned, like the greatest faction right now in TNA, and of course you're gonna have a win over the system. What I like is like it seems like this feud is far from over between the two groups, and as obviously after the match, Order 4 attacked the system, like, and then JDC. What I like is that before that this Ollie had a Secret Service hold Moose, like like hold Moose. I feel like it seemed like he was Mustafa was gonna do more damage, and then of course JDC come out as we mentioned earlier, being the wild man he is. The someone in the chat mentioned like the Van Dangonator with that steel chair. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, he
So
came out. He looked like Vince out there, man. He was taking everybody out before he was eventually stopped. But yeah, you can continue.
Yeah. And as soon as he was gonna get Ollie, Agent Zero, put a stop to that. Lay Dango out with a steel chair. So and all system members, even including Alicia and Matt Cardona, are down. Order 4 standing tall. Moose, still being held by the Secret Service. This was a great segment, a great way to end the show. It kind of shows like we have not like we are seeing how um I'm trying to think of a word, how ruthless, and I guess you could say ruthless and villainous Mustafa and his group are, like, of taking over TNA at what costs. Like he beat Joe Hendry 2 weeks ago, and now all the system members are like literally everyone is down and out. And the last image is Mustafa and the Order 4 standing tall. So this is a good way to build towards whatever's next between the two groups. And I'm assuming we're gonna get like a future match between Mustafa and Moose. I can't wait for that. I'm sure. Like, do you have any takes too? Like,
No, I thought that the closing, just Agent Zero kind of is the trump card for Order 4, I think, right now. Dude, he just looks like a killer. And no, I'm looking forward to more faction warfare. And again, and like you just said, the potential matchups between individual guys in both these groups is very fascinating as well. But yeah, I liked all of this.
yeah, so yeah, same. This kind of further establish like what we talked about, that Mustafa, it's only a matter of time before he gets his shot at the world title, and then I think we're really gonna see the reign of Mustafa. So
I mean, yeah, I'm looking forward to that because I do think that's kind of
honestly, like I'll bring up Mustafa. Honestly, when you really look at it, like I did the math, so to speak. And only 4 people have beaten Mustafa since coming to TNA: Speedball, Nemeth, Santana, and obviously and Cardona, obviously. So just those 4. So yeah, Ali, he's been kind of on a dominant role from like his X Division title reign to now his current reign, being the leader of Order 4. So like I said, like he's like as a politician too, like they use all their resources, and that's what he's been able to do. And pretty digging it.
Yeah, they're definitely keeping his booking. I mean, they're picking him, being very selective with his wins, trying to keep him, special, and just in terms of when someone beats him, it means something. And so just like a jobber. So yeah, I definitely like this. This show as a whole was very, very good, very, very solid. With that being said, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Overall, yeah, a decent show. Heavy heavy focus on the knockouts. I was gonna mention this in the chat, like, don't say TNA didn't do nothing for women's wrestling, because like the show was pretty heavy on the knockouts. So
Yes,
I'll mention that
yes,
too. So
definitely.
and
They showcased a lot.
yeah,
Whether with like, yeah, they had like 7 or 8 in the knockouts in gauntlet match, and then you had the woman segment, and then you had the backstage stuff. Yeah, there were a lot of women featured on the show, which is always a good thing.
mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I just want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank Kyle for joining as well, obviously. Make sure you guys like and subscribe this video. That way you're notified of whenever we go live or whenever any of the great people on Body Slam go live. And with that being said, have a good evening. Thank you, guys.
So, girl.
Oh, thank you! Oh, thank you! Oh, thank you!